The wind howled across the jagged cliffs of Virellia Prime, carrying with it a stench of scorched metal and alien blood. Kaelira's grip tightened around the haft of her spear as she spun, narrowly avoiding the snapping claws of a Drakari hunter. They had her cornered, a dozen of the winged beasts circling in a predator's ballet, talons glinting under the sickly twin suns. Her armor, a lattice of reflective alloys and energy filaments, shimmered as she darted between rock outcroppings, but even that could not stop the relentless onslaught. Her spear had been her pride and her legacy, forged from the core of a fallen star and imbued with the ancestral runes of her people. Now, as the largest of the Drakari lunged, its maw wide with anticipation, the haft cracked under the force of a counterstrike. She stumbled back, one boot catching the edge of a crumbling cliff, and the weapon that had defined her skill shattered in her hands. Panic clawed at her chest. She had faced many battles, but never so outnumbered, never against predators bred for war and cunning, not like these. The Drakari sensed it, circling tighter, their screeches deafening, a chorus of imminent death. Kaelira's pulse thundered in her ears, her breaths ragged. She had trained for moments like this, but training was no shield against despair, and despair had a way of immobilizing even the fiercest warriors. Then, something utterly impossible happened. A shadow tore across the sky, moving faster than any ship, faster than anything the Drakari could comprehend. Kaelira squinted upward, squinting through the twin suns' glare, and saw a figure descending from the heavens, spinning like a meteor, framed in blazing light. It was a human, wearing armor unlike any she had seen, compact yet bristling with technology that seemed to hum with anticipation. The human hit the ground with a force that sent a shockwave through the cliffside, sending the nearest Drakari tumbling backward. Kaelira shielded her eyes from the sudden burst of kinetic energy, feeling a rush of disbelief and hope in equal measure. The human landed lightly on one foot, pivoting with impossible grace, and spoke in a language that was both foreign and strangely clear in her mind. "Mind if I enter the fight?" Kaelira blinked. The words carried an authority, a calm command, as though the speaker expected the universe itself to obey. The Drakari paused, uncertain, their instincts screaming that this human was no ordinary prey. The figure leapt into action, a blur of motion, energy blades igniting from the gauntlets, slicing through the closest Drakari with precise arcs. Sparks flew, talons were severed, and the predators screeched in confusion. Kaelira's jaw went slack as she watched the human maneuver with uncanny speed and accuracy. Each strike was calculated, efficient, almost preternatural. The Drakari tried to regroup, but the human's presence had shifted the battlefield. Fear, a sensation Kaelira rarely felt in combat, now tingled in her own veins, but it was tempered by something stronger, an unspoken promise that she might survive this after all. "Move!" the human barked, eyes scanning her position. Kaelira didn't need to be told twice. She scrambled to her feet, grabbing a fragment of her broken spear. It was little more than a jagged shard, but in her hands, it became a weapon again. She nodded at the human, a silent acknowledgement of alliance, and together they faced the circling Drakari. The battle unfolded like a dance, chaotic yet orchestrated. Kaelira jabbed with her shard, exploiting openings created by the human's strikes. Each Drakari that lunged found itself countered in ways Kaelira could barely comprehend. The human's movements were unlike any fighting style she had ever studied, blending strength, speed, and strategy into a living, breathing symphony of destruction. As the fight progressed, Kaelira noticed that the human's armor adapted, panels shifting and energy flowing along its surface, enhancing strength and resilience. It was as if the suit were alive, feeding off the human's will and amplifying it. Kaelira's admiration mingled with awe. She had fought alongside warriors from the most elite legions of Virellia Prime, but this was something else entirely. By the time the twin suns dipped toward the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the battlefield, the Drakari were in retreat. The survivors took to the skies, their screeches of frustration echoing like a dirge. Kaelira lowered her shard, chest heaving, sweat and blood mixing across her face. The human turned to her, and for the first time, she could see the face beneath the helmet. Short-cropped hair, pale skin, eyes sharp with intelligence and a strange warmth that seemed almost alien in its sincerity. The human extended a hand, helping her steady herself. "You okay?" the human asked, voice calm but tinged with curiosity, as though evaluating her potential. Kaelira could only nod, words failing her for once. They were going to kill me," she managed finally, voice hoarse. "Not on my watch," the human replied simply, as if that explained everything. Kaelira studied the human, realizing that this was not just a warrior. This was someone who defied expectations, who shattered preconceived notions of what an individual could do. She had heard stories of humans, whispered tales of their ingenuity and resilience, but never had she seen it firsthand. This one embodied everything the legends claimed and more. "I am Kaelira of House Vera," she said, straightening her shoulders despite the aches in her limbs. "And you are?" The human's lips curved slightly into a grin. "Name's Captain Joran Miles from Terra. I don't usually drop in uninvited, but it seems you needed a hand." Kaelira blinked. Terra, a world she had heard of in legends, a place rumored to produce beings capable of feats the galaxy deemed impossible. Her mind raced, calculating the implications of an ally like this. If humans were like Joran, then perhaps her people's understanding of the galaxy's balance was far too narrow. Before Kaelira could speak further, a distant roar shook the cliffs. The Drakari had regrouped, calling reinforcements, their numbers far greater now. Joran's gaze shifted toward the horizon, and Kaelira noticed something in his stance, a preparedness that spoke of countless battles fought and won. "Looks like they brought friends," Joran said, voice steady. "You still got some fight left." Kaelira tightened her grip on her shard, her fear replaced by determination. "Always," she said. The wind picked up again, carrying with it the scent of ozone and anticipation. Side by side, human and Virelian warrior faced the oncoming storm. The twin suns bathed them in gold and crimson, and for the first time in hours, Kaelira felt the surge of hope. They were outnumbered, perhaps outmatched, but together they were unstoppable. The Drakari descended once more, but this time Kaelira's strikes were sharper, more confident, and Joran moved with the deadly elegance of a predator unbound. Each clash echoed across the cliffs, sparks flying, talons and shards colliding. The battlefield became a blur of motion, light and sound, yet amidst it all, Kaelira could sense a rhythm, a pattern. Humans like Joran, she realized, did not merely fight. They orchestrated chaos into victory. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time seemed irrelevant as they battled, the twin suns dipping below the horizon and stars beginning to pierce the darkening sky. Eventually, the Drakari broke, retreating into the void with the screams of the defeated echoing behind them. Kaelira sank to one knee, exhausted but alive. Joran placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "You did well," he said, though she knew the real credit belonged to the teamwork that had made victory possible. Kaelira looked at the human, a warrior from legends, a being who had literally fallen from the sky to change her fate. Her mind raced with possibilities, with questions about this mysterious species and the power they wielded. One thing was clear, her life, her understanding of the galaxy, would never be the same again. "We survived," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "Thanks to you." Joran smiled, the helmet retracting slightly to reveal a look that was almost boyish despite the aura of lethal capability. "We survived. But this is only the beginning." Kaelira's heart pounded with anticipation, excitement, and an unfamiliar thrill. She had faced death and emerged victorious, not alone, but with an ally who defied every expectation she had ever held. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of mysteries, but for the first time she believed that together they could face anything. And somewhere deep in her mind, a single thought echoed: humans. She had underestimated them. She never would again. The wind swept across the cliffs, carrying with it the whispers of 1,000 battles yet to come, and Kaelira knew that the story of this encounter would be told for generations. A tale of survival, of courage, and of a human who fell from the sky and changed the course of a warrior's destiny. Joran smiled faintly. "You haven't seen anything yet. Humans excel at making the impossible practical." He offered her a hand. Kaelira took it, feeling a strange reassurance in his grip. Together they stepped onto the platform. In a blink, the world shifted, the cliffs disappearing, and they were aboard a sleek, metallic vessel suspended above Virellia Prime. The ship hummed with energy, walls glowing faintly as Joran guided her to a seat. Kaelira sank into it, her body finally surrendering to exhaustion. She studied the human, the embodiment of legend made real, and realized that everything she had believed about the limits of strength, intelligence, and courage might have been wrong. "Tell me," Kaelira said, voice still heavy with awe. "Why did you come? Why me?" Joran leaned against a console, fingers brushing over holographic displays. "I don't intervene often, but when I saw you surrounded, I recognized something. Not just skill, not just bravery. You have potential. Humans recognize value in the unlikeliest places." Kaelira frowned. "Potential? What do you mean?" "Power isn't just in strength," he replied. "It's in will, in ingenuity, in the refusal to surrender. I've seen countless species, but few fight with the combination of precision and heart that you just showed. That's why I came. You weren't just another casualty. I wanted to see what you could do when given a chance." Kaelira's mind raced. The idea that someone from another world, a species she had heard about only in myths, had recognized her potential, stirred something deep inside her. She felt an unfamiliar spark, a mixture of pride, determination, and a growing curiosity about humans. Perhaps the galaxy was more interconnected than she had ever imagined. The ship shuddered suddenly, warning lights flashing. Joran's eyes narrowed. "They've found us. Drakari reinforcements, faster than expected." Kaelira's heart leapt. She had thought the danger had passed, but the hunt was far from over. "Then we fight again?" she asked, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging. Joran nodded. "If necessary. But first let me show you something." He pressed a series of controls, and the ship shifted into faster-than-light travel, slipping out of Virellia's orbit. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and Kaelira realized they were leaving the battlefield behind, at least for now. The hum of the engines settled, and the tension in her body eased slightly. She gazed out the viewport, watching Virellia Prime shrink into the distance. The cliffs, the battle, the Drakari. They were all part of a larger universe, a universe in which humans seemed capable of bending reality itself. "You fight differently than anyone I've ever seen," Joran said, breaking her reverie. "Your people have skill, yes, but there's a creativity in your style, a resourcefulness. That's why I want to recruit you. Together we can make a difference. Not just survive but shape the galaxy." Kaelira's mind whirled with the implications. To leave her homeworld, to join forces with a human, to explore beyond the borders of everything she had known. Was it madness or opportunity? She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders, but also a thrill she hadn't experienced since she first held a spear. I need time to consider, she said, voice soft but resolute. What you're offering? It's more than I can process in a few minutes. Joran nodded. Fair enough. But know this. Humans move fast and opportunities don't wait. If you decide to join, I'll be here. If not, I'll leave you to defend your world on your own. Kaelira stared out at the stars, the vast expanse of the galaxy opening before her like a promise. She thought of the Drakari, of the battles yet to come, of the endless possibilities that stretched across space. And for the first time she didn't feel fear. She felt anticipation, a hunger to see what lay beyond the familiar cliffs of her homeworld. The ship hummed softly as it sailed through the void. Kaelira finally turned to Joran. I will join you, she said, her voice firm, carrying the weight of her decision. Not because I have to, but because I want to see how far we can go. Joran's grin returned, broader this time, tinged with genuine approval. Good. That's the spirit that changes the course of history. Welcome aboard, Kaelira. As the ship accelerated into the unknown, Kaelira felt a sense of freedom she had never known. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders alike, but for the first time she wasn't alone. Side by side with a human who had literally fallen from the sky, she would face whatever challenges awaited. And she knew, with a certainty that sent a thrill through her veins, that together they could overcome anything. The twin moons of Virellia Prime faded behind them, and the stars stretched infinitely ahead. Kaelira allowed herself a small smile, gripping the edge of her seat. The galaxy awaited, unpredictable, dangerous, and beautiful. And for the first time in her life, she was ready to meet it head-on. Above her, the ship's console blinked with incoming signals, the first of countless missions. Below, distant Drakari fleets stirred, unaware that their prey had gained an ally far beyond their comprehension. Kaelira looked at Joran, who tapped the console with quiet confidence. Together they represented something new, a convergence of worlds, a spark that could ignite change across the stars. And as the ship vanished into hyperspace, Kaelira realized that this was only the beginning of a legend that would be told for generations, of a Virelian warrior and a human from Terra, fighting side by side against impossible odds, shaping the fate of worlds in ways no one had ever imagined. The galaxy was vast, and the battles were just beginning. But Kaelira and Joran, bound by courage, ingenuity, and the unyielding human spirit, would face it all. Together, unstoppable, unbroken, and unafraid.